Hi, my name's Kate. I am a high school math teacher in the beginning of my 19th year of teaching. Today I thought that I would take you guys along for a day in my life. So just to kind of talk, my first two blocks that I have today are my pre-calculus class. And last class period we talked about the difference quotient and the kids practiced those with just some of our more basic equations. So we're going to do some more examples today, getting into a little bit more complex. So we'll see some quadratic functions that they're going to use the difference quotient with, and then we'll see one rational function. So get a little bit more challenging with the kids today. We'll do 3 or 4 examples, and then the kids will have time to work on their homework, which is only doing 2 of the problems. But I like giving them time in class to work on these. That way they can ask questions as they're working through them independently. The third class that I have today is quantitative reasoning. And my quantitative reasoning class today is talking about absolute and relative change. And so we're going to start out just reviewing how to do our percents to fractions, percents to decimals, changing all of those different things. And then we'll talk about what relative and absolute change are. And then we'll do a couple of practice problems. And then the kids should have some time to start on their homework as well. That way, again, I can answer those questions that they have. And then after my quantitative reasoning is my plan period. Honestly, it's been really nice to have plan period at the end of the day, every other day. So my plan during my plan period is really to try to get as many copies as I can for at least my pre-calculus class and my college algebra class, get all of those copies made for next week, and then start slowly working on my quantitative reasoning classwork, homework, warm-ups, and all of that, at least started creating. Because I have everything else created for the other two, I may need to make minor tweaks, but for quantitative reasoning, it's the first year teaching it here, so I've only taught it one other time at the high school level, so I'm really revamping what I did a couple years ago because some of it just I know isn't going to work anymore, and some of it I just didn't like the way that I did it. So my plan period is going to be full of that today. Now it is about 7:35. Class doesn't start till 8:25, but I do have office hours today at 7:45, and I know I had a bunch of kids that said they wanted to come in and get help. So I'm going to get a few things done so that I am ready when kids show up for office hours. I'm just in our math office waiting for our copier to warm up. It seriously takes like a good 5 minutes in the morning to warm up. I've got new seats for my pre-calc kids, so I just need those seating charts to print, and I forgot to do it before I left yesterday. So now I wait. So let's go ahead and go over this again. I'm seeing a couple of different answers, and this is all just making sure you're following order of operations correctly. So when we're doing order of operations, so we have f of b minus f of a. Please make sure you're carrying this down, and a lot of you guys didn't have this. Okay. So inside our first set of brackets, what do we need to do first? The exponent. So 5 squared is 25, and then 25 times 5 gives us 125. So we can have 125, and then we know we're going to add 4 to that, minus, and this is kind of where we struggled a little bit. So here we're going to do our 1 squared first. 1 squared is times 5 is 5 plus 4. And then as we keep going, we're going to have our f of b minus f of a equals, so 125 plus 4 is 129. Minus, what is 5 plus 4? So 129 minus 9. A lot of you guys dropped these parentheses, so you just had negative 5 plus 4. But we have to add our 5 plus 4 first before we can take care of that negative sign. This is why brackets, parentheses are really important. Okay? So those of you guys that are still refusing to because whatever reason, you need to start using them because you will get these problems wrong, and you did. I saw a lot of 128s out there. Okay, so our f of b minus f of a is equal to what? 120. So our answer is not 120. Our answer is f of b minus f of a equals 120. So real quick, we just have to talk about a notation thing with this. If I had written my answer and it looked like this, that two's a little special, but that's okay. Is this the same thing as what we had up here? Are those the same? No, because even though you're just like, yeah, well, I mean, the line's still there, is this really underneath my denominator if it's not actually underneath the fraction? No. So even if you just do it a little bit and you're like, yeah, it's there, take the time to just, if you need to, extend it so it's over the whole thing, okay? The same when we're talking with square roots, right? X plus 2, like this, I don't know, is the plus 2 outside the square root? Is it inside the square root, right? We have to be really intentional about the way that we're writing these problems so that we know that it is or is not specifically part of the denominator, part of the square root, part of the whatever it is. Okay. Number 3, very similar to number 2. There's one big difference. What's the difference in this problem? Yeah, there's 2 x's. There's one in the numerator and the denominator. Does that really change the overall idea of what we do? Just make sure when you're evaluating and plugging in your x plus h, it doesn't just go to the bottom, it goes also to the top, right? So don't forget that. So try this one, do the best you can, check with your teammates, and then we'll go over it. My first 2 classes are over, and I'm about 30 minutes into my quantitative reasoning class, and we have lunch, so I see them for 30 minutes. We have our 30-minute lunch, and then I have them for an hour. Sometimes I actually... Honestly, last year when I had this for the first time, I wasn't really thrilled about it because it was hard. It was in the middle of my pre-calculus classes, and it was a struggle because I felt like we were just in the middle of something big and then it was time to go to lunch. With my quantitative reasoning class, I really don't mind it because it allows us to just do a little bit, they can take a break, and then we're gonna jump back in. So we just worked on the front of that worksheet, reviewing how to convert all of our decimals, percents, fractions to everything, and then we did one story problem, and then we have the back. I know that this is not going to be enough for the kids, and I'm still trying to balance giving the kids enough of a lesson, giving them enough practice, but not having a huge amount of time at the end of class. And that's what I still wind up having, is like a good 40 minutes with the kids sitting, and I pose it as this is homework time, but some of the kids are just struggling to focus. So I need to do a better job myself of finding some other activities, whether it's task cards, whether it's partner work, give them whiteboards and do some work. So I need to start working on building some of those things into my curriculum. So another thing I'm gonna add to my list. So anyway, I'm gonna enjoy lunch. Just wanna show you guys, I have this amazing salad container, so I pretty much bring salads almost every day. So this Bent Go container, I'll leave it in the description below. It's got 2 compartments, so a compartment for all my toppings, and I've got lots of toppings today, and then underneath is the salad part. There is a container that fits in here for the dressing, but I just bring myself a big old bottle of dressing instead. So I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy my salad. And then I will have another hour with my quantitative reasoning and then my plan period. When we look at the formula for our relative change, this one we are going to, if we're comparing 2 things, we're gonna have a fraction. So we're gonna figure something out and we're gonna divide. So we're gonna compare the absolute change. So how did we find the absolute change? What was that formula? So our new value minus our reference value, so that's going to be the top of our fraction. So our relative change is the new value minus the reference value. So this is our absolute change, right? But we're just going to write our new minus our reference, so we remember that. And then we're going to compare that to, so we're going to divide that by what? We look at the words up here. We're in comparison to the what value? Comparison to the what value? The reference value. So we're going to do new value or minus reference value, and then we're going to divide that by the reference value. Okay, so my quantitative reasoning class is over, and I am on my 4th block, my prep period, until the end of the day, which is really nice. That class is definitely a struggle. It's a really small class. I think I just had a couple more kids drop because they were not doing so well and they don't need it to graduate. So I think I'm down to 12 kids in that class. It's pretty small. It's hard because it's a new class that was offered only this year. So counselors didn't know about it. Teachers didn't know about it to recommend that class. So it was definitely a small class to begin with. Next year, hopefully it'll grow a little bit and, kind of figure things out. But today it was just a huge struggle. So first of all, participation is just, it's not it, because, with only 12 kids in the class, nobody wants to talk because, they don't want to be wrong. And I'm like, I know you guys can talk, because you talk nonstop before class starts. So trying to get them comfortable with that a little bit more, need to work on that. But also I feel like as juniors and seniors, I hope they're pretty much actually all seniors, they should be comfortable with talking and participating, right? I get it if it was freshmen. We're gonna get there. But they also struggled. They had 30 minutes to work on their homework. As soon as the homework hit, they were all just like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I'm like, guys, we just did this. The problem looks slightly different, but it's asking the same thing. So we're really struggling with applying what we learned to problems that may be worded slightly different, but doing the exact same thing. So we're working on it. We're just going to keep slowly plugging away and, keep making notes and reevaluating how I'm teaching it, what I'm doing, and making sure that I'm doing the best that I can. So, may have to come back and revisit some of these things. Anyway, so planned period, I've got just shy of 90 minutes, and I've got a list of things to do. So I did purchase this, let me show you a blank one just because I've got some names on here I can't show, but I did purchase this calendar here, or this weekly checklist thing from my Callie Danielle, super cute. So I'll leave a link for this below, where it just sits on my desk, and it is big, it's a large pad. It just sits on my desk, and as I think of things to do, I either put it for today if I haven't had my plan period yet, or if it's something I need to do right away, or I'll schedule it out for the week. And then there is a weekend one, so a lot of times as I'm thinking of things and I'm like, oh, I don't need to do this until next week, I'll just add it to the weekend, and then I know, okay, I just need to, before I rip this off and throw it away, I will transfer those tasks to next week. And I have found that this has been really helpful this year. I've never needed it before, so I don't know what the difference is, but it's working for my brain right now. So I've got a good list of things that I need to do, finishing my quantitative reasoning stuff for Monday, making sure I've got my pre-calc copies made for next week, and enter all of my my kids that were tardy into, we use a management program called Swiss. So I need to enter all of those tardies in. It takes a lot of work. That way I can start or keep up with the documentation of the kids that have been tardy, on top of, as well as the cell phones that I've had to deal with today. Today was a horrible day with cell phones. My last class, so normally I tell the kids with this class after lunch, phones in your bags, earbuds in your bags, bags in the back of the room. And I said that 3 times, and I still had 10 of the 12 kids, their bags were still sitting right there, and I'd say it again, and it was just sitting there. So I called them all out on it, and they took their bag and they moved it from here to here. And I was like, guys, that is not the back of the room. I said, it at least needs to get to that 3rd row where we have nobody sitting. And one kid just chucks it, and it lands in the middle of the aisle, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on with these kids. And I know that they just want to be on their phones, they won't want to do this stuff, but I'm just gonna keep pushing them. Phones are the bane of my existence, and I know that's the same with every teacher. So just gonna keep working through that stuff. So gonna get all of this stuff done, and then we'll see how much time I have. So hopefully I can be super productive today, because I need to be. Just showing you guys how I keep track of tardies. So I've got a list off to the left here of my students' names for each class period. And then I have next to them just the little T for when they're tardy, and then the check mark is when I enter those in Swiss. And then off to the other side, I have the E or P, electronics or phone. It just basically the same thing. That way I can keep track of how many tardies the kids have and how many electronic violations they have, so I know what level they are when I enter those in our referral system. When my students walk into class, I have their start of class slides posted on the board, and it really keeps things hopefully getting students organized and doing what we need to do when class starts. So I always list the date, and then I have their to-do. I'm still working on getting kids to follow through with that, because a lot of times they just turn in the homework and then start the warm-up. So I really need them to get to do that do now, especially that second one, gathering those supplies. And then I list their upcoming test or quiz, just the most, the one that comes up next, and then just tell what we're doing today. And then I always have just a silly little meme for the students. So this is the one that I have set up for next class already, or for next week already, but just have a fun little Halloween theme going on. Each day is a different picture. Well, that's it. My day is over. I hope you guys enjoyed this day in my life. I know it wasn't the most exciting thing, but that's the reality of teaching. And yeah, I was not as productive on my plan period as I wanted to, but I do have my copies at least made for Monday, so that's good. And then tomorrow, so today's Thursday, so tomorrow on my plan period, I'm going to work on getting the rest of the copies that I need for next week, at least for my pre-calculus class and college algebra. So we'll get there. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are interested in following along more with my journey as I teach, please subscribe. I do upload videos every Friday, but you can hit that notification bell to be notified the next time a video goes live. I hope you guys have a mathy day. Bye.